My love affair with Pepper didn't start until I was 15, when psychedelic progressive rock entered my life, and the sheer wonder of this piece of work started to emerge. Drugs helped to identify more with the tracks, and initially Lucy in the Sky Islands and A Day in the Life became must-listens on a regular basis. So to continue then, I'm going to waltz through the waltz. That's a very symbolic word to describe Pepper. I'm going to waltz through the tracks one by one and give my take on it. Let's start with the title track, Sergeant Pepper's Lonely Heart Club Band. For me, it acted as a door opener to a musical show, a music hall show, a fairground show with Billy Shears as the master of ceremonies. The crisp rhythm with Paul on lead and that orchestral arrangement sets the tone, and the rhythm sharpens with the chorus, and a taste of 4 French horns to add into. To track 2 now, with a little help from my friends. This is regarded as one of Ringo's best lead vocals, and he is very good. Musically, it's an easy melody and tempo, built on harmonies. It's the most stripped down song, I think, instrumentally, enabling the message of love and friendship to take centre stage. And Ringo does a terrific job on lead vocals. George Martin plays Hammond organ on it. So to track 3 then, the infamous Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. Lyrically, of course, a mythology grew up about the song. The letters LSD, of course, symbolic of the drug of the times, took on major proportions. The question remains, is it about LSD or is it a picture drawn by Sean about a fellow pupil Lucy, which John Lennon claims? Well, drugs or not, the imagery is amazing, and that's what art is, isn't it? Musically, it's beyond categorization, really. There's some lovely organ from Paul, and the 7th take, and I read this on the internet, introduced a tambora at the start of the track, Indian drone-like, and it blends in with the organ to create that beautiful musical sound at the start. Back to the images in the lyrics, we get maybe a taste of Alice in Wonderland, which of course was another important piece of art that was steeped in drug-induced interpretations. There's a dreamlike verse that's absolutely awesome. And so it remains, and I would suggest that you really do look at the lyrics to get a taste of maybe what people did experience under LSD. Some of the images are beyond reality, put it that way. To track 4 then, Getting Better. The piano chord is prolific here, along with the harmonies. The song is vocally driven with little lead instrumentation. Lyrically, it traces time, I think, through school, late teenage life, and the social message of growing out of machoism and becoming a better person. To track 5 then, Fixing a Hole, has a very sad tone. Paul is melancholic on vocals at the start. There's a nice harpsichord from Martin again, and the midsection has some nice Harrison guitar. We don't get too much lead from George, but here he does open his shoulders a little. Lyrically, well, the words simply state, don't overthink things, keep things simple, stay practical, very working class work ethic, and don't get distracted by others. Don't get all those crazy impulses. Anyway, I love the song. Harrison's lead is very precise and polished. So to track 6, She's Leaving Home. I actually use this song in my English teaching with teenagers because I think it's got such an imposing message, a tremendous story. A wonderful song, a sad song that integrates the strings, violins and cellos with the exquisite mix of lead and harmony vocals. The harpsichord is added into the mix as well. Lyrically, of course, it's a message to parents. It's a message to for them to stop falling into the trap of money being a substitute for time spent with your child. Busy lives, and kids have emotional gaps for parents with busy lives, for children, and the notion of feeling unwanted, even if the gifts are lavished on them, and the ultimate rejection when the teenager leaves at the first chance of affection, even if it is short-lived. It's a very strong social message to parents. To track 7 then, Being for the Benefit of Mr. Kite. When this opens up, you imagine a fun fair, maybe a musical hall, and you see an array of performers as sang by John as he takes on board the narrative. The Wurlitzer piano is superlative, and you feel you're at that fairground, on a waltzer maybe, and also images maybe of street performers, which were a common sight in London in the late 70s and beyond. It's just a wonderful conglomeration of wacky sounds and a standout track. Again, Martin contributes significantly with playing the glockenspiel, harmonium and organ, and wow, ain't it good. Now on to side 2 of the vinyl. It opens up with Within You Without You, the Eastern mystic Indian sound brought by George opens side 2s. We get sitars, tambura and other assorted noises that take you on a journey to that part of the world. The percussion is awesome, and of course coincided with the Fab Four exploring the Maharishi Yogi's meditation retreats. George's vocal is very mood driven, and the violins and cellos are courtesy of the Asia Music Circle. If I was to be a little critical, it's a touch too long. So to track 9 then, When I'm 64. The clarinet is infectious on this track, and it drives that humour that McCartney puts into the lyrics. It's looking into the future. Such a great song, a homage to music hall, and it's been suggested it may have been inspired by the music hall star George Formby. Delightful harmonies throughout. Paul's lyrics lay out those simple pleasures and now challenges that would be faced as retirement beckons. Next up is lovely Rita. Meter Maid apparently is a name for a US traffic warden. One idea that I saw written suggests that the song was inspired by Paul getting a parking ticket. Paul and George Martin are on pianos here, and Martin's piano solo has a hint at Scott Joplin, I felt. Some lovely harmonies from John, and so we move on to the next track now. So to the next track then, Good Morning, Good Morning. And what a hoot of a song it is. It emerges with the cocks crowing at daybreak, and we slip into a barrage of sounds, and then John's vocal starts with a jazzy sort of rhythm with horns all over the mix. There's a ferocious guitar solo by George with horn accompaniment, and as we get to the outro, the birds, the dogs, cats calls and horses in order, apparently, as requested by John, and the array of noises leads the outro into the reprise of Sergeant Pepper. But good morning, lyrically it's about the slog of getting up for work, I felt, early as well, and the slowness of the day to begin, and how small talk, or no talk at all, is the order of the early morning. And Lennon's adaptation of a jingle has been said to be the inspiration for the animal noise sequence. So let's move on to that Sergeant Pepper reprise. It's hard rock returns, no frills, no horns, unlike the opener, and it's got a faster tempo. And then we get to the final offering, A Day in the Life, the finale, with a 40-piece orchestra. You sense that you're listening to something very special. It's just over 5 minutes, but feels like it's just a couple of minutes. First, the music. Well, the piano intro is such a mood mover, and John's vocal is awe-inspiring. Sang slow and deliberate, and then the pace quickens with Ringo understated drumming as we go into the dream sequence, and the strings drown out the band until Paul skips in on the second verse, I guess, with that piano, and Ringo's skippy drumming. So superlative it is, no doubt. And of course the dream sequence is linked to Smoking Pot, and re-highlights the issue about drug taking. And then finally John takes over again as the piano starts to dominate as we reach the orchestral climax. The senses are smashed by the final chord, the F chord, and apparently it was supplied by 4 pianos from the 4 members of the band, and Martin augmenting with an harmonium. Lyrically, again, a lot has been made of the reference to drug use. He blew his mind out in a car. He didn't notice that the lights had changed. On a personal point, I recall the same thing happening to me on a road in the centre of Nottingham while I was under the influence of alcohol. But I don't know whether that is of any use in terms of interpretation, other than to say, of course, it was extremely naughty of me. References to the House of Lords, the Army, World War II, and the alarm clock signals McCartney's vocal about getting up. And again, lyrically, found my way upstairs and had a smoke, and somebody spoke and went into a dream. And finally, John's talking about the joke about holes in Blackburn, Lancashire. So here we have it, Sergeant Pepper. If you want to learn more, there's a lot of comment on the internet, but ultimately just listen to it repeatedly. I still gain more from it on each listen. It is probably the most important release in the history of popular music, so desperately I am pleading with you, if you haven't heard it, do so.